The first rays of sunlight slip through my bedroom curtains, painting golden stripes across the wall. It should feel beautiful. It should feel like promise. But instead, my chest tightens as if invisible hands are pressing down, squeezing the hope from my lungs before I can even whip the covers off my bed. My eyes are open, but my spirit feels buried under an avalanche of unnamed dread. The world outside my windows waking up, birds are calling, neighbors starting their cars, and children's voices drifting through the morning air. Everyone's moving forward while I lay here, paralyzed by a weight with no name. My phone screen glows with messages I can't bring myself to answer, and the day stretches before me like an impossible mountain that I've got no strength to climb. And what I think is the cruelest part, there's no logical reason for this heaviness. My life looks blessed on paper. Yet here I am, fighting tears before I can even bring myself to get out of bed, just wondering if I'm the only one who dreads the dawn. This wasn't an occasional morning grogginess or the Monday blues. This was a shadow that would visit without warning, sometimes after a perfectly good day or a beautiful, restful night's sleep. I tried everything, cutting out screen time, earlier bedtimes, meditation, gratitude journals, no caffeine afternoon, exercise routines, and some of these things did help, but nothing dissolved that morning cloud completely. To be honest, it was the shame that was almost worse than the actual anxiety. How ungrateful must I be to wake up in a comfortable bed with a beautiful family and a safe home with people who loved me and still feel this emptiness? What kind of Christian starts their day dreading the gift of life that God's given us? These questions, they only added weight to an already crushing burden. And one morning, in desperate prayer, I whispered raw words to God. Just, look, God, I don't know how to start another day feeling like this. My Bible laid open beside me. My eyes fell on words that slowed my racing thoughts. Quote, "Let me hear of your unfailing love each morning, for I am trusting you. Show me where to walk, for I give myself to you." That's Psalm 143, verse 8. The words caught me off guard, not because they were unfamiliar, but because they suddenly felt like they were written for exactly this moment, for exactly this struggle. Here was David, a man God himself called after his own heart, starting this morning with what sounded like the same desperate plea that I was making morning after morning. I began researching Psalm 143, hungry to understand the context of these words. And what I discovered transformed my understanding of both morning anxiety as well as God's presence in it. David wrote this psalm while hiding in desert caves, hunted by enemies who literally wanted him dead. See, for him, mornings weren't just emotionally difficult. They were actually dangerous. Dawn meant becoming visible again, vulnerable to everybody and everything that was tracking him. For David, each sunrise brought real life or death decisions with incomplete information. Would today be the day that his pursuers found him? Should he move locations? Who can he really trust? Picture David waking up in the dim light of a cave, his body stiff from sleeping on stone and instantly alert to every sound that might signal danger. Before he even moves, his mind races through possible threats that are waiting outside. His breath starts to quicken, his mouth goes dry, and his hands tremble slightly, not from weakness, but from a body prepared for immediate fight or flight every morning. This wasn't just spiritual warfare. For David, it was actual warfare. Yet still, in this extreme circumstance, he doesn't begin the day by planning his escape routes or sharpening his weapons. David's first priority, his first necessity, is hearing of God's unfailing love. The Hebrew word that David uses here, hesed, is nearly untranslatable in its richness. It's not just affection or warm feelings. It's covenant love, faithful beyond circumstances, stronger than fear and more certain than danger. See, David doesn't ask for his danger to disappear. He doesn't even primarily ask for direction yet. His first and most urgent need is to ground himself in the unshakable reality of God's hesed before he faces anything else. Notice the deliberate sequence in David's prayer. First, let me hear your unfailing love. Then, show me where to walk. See, direction without foundation is just another burden. David knew that trying to navigate his day without first anchoring himself in God's love would only lead to more anxiety and more fear-based decisions. The profoundness of this verse is that David doesn't treat morning anxiety like it's something to overcome through better spiritual discipline. He doesn't shame himself for feeling afraid. Instead, he brings his vulnerable, anxious heart directly to God and asks for what he needs most in the fragile morning moment: reassurance of love before requirements of action. When I begin seeing my morning anxiety through this lens, it shifts something. I stop viewing it as a spiritual failure, and I begin recognizing it as an invitation to just get more intimate with God. Like David, I could acknowledge my morning vulnerability without shame and make hearing God's unfailing love my very first priority. This transformed my morning in 3 ways. First, I created a before anything practice. Before checking my phone, before planning my day, before even getting myself out of bed, I now whispered David's words aloud. Let me hear your unfailing love this morning, for I am trusting in you. This simple declaration reframes the day ahead, not as something that I must conquer on my own with my own strength, but better yet, as a sacred ground where God's love precedes my every step. And second, I curated what I call hesed reminders. I'm sure I'm butchering that word, but it works for me. Specific verses, worship songs, and written prayers that speak directly of God's unfailing love. I keep these by my bedside, in my car, on my phone lock screen, places where morning anxiety typically ambushes me. When that familiar tightness comes, I don't fight it or analyze it. Instead, I turn immediately to these reminders, letting God's promises of hesed wash over my anxiety before I try and reason with it. And third, I found a morning prayer witness, someone who knows about my struggle and texts me simple reminders of God's presence on especially difficult mornings. There's a profound power in not facing the day alone, and having someone else to speak truth when your own voice feels silenced by anxiety. Sometimes God's unfailing love, it arrives through the faithful presence of people who won't let us forget that we're truly and deeply loved. My morning anxiety certainly hasn't vanished entirely. Some days still feel like they're beginning with that familiar heaviness. But now, instead of those feelings defining the entire rest of my day or my relationship with God, they've become simple signposts pointing me towards a deeper dependence on His unfailing love. The struggle itself has become sacred ground where I get to meet God in brand new ways. And on the darkest mornings where I have no words of my own, David's ancient prayer just becomes my own. Let me hear your unfailing love this morning, for I am trusting you. My friend, let me ask you, what's the first voice that you hear each morning? Is it your anxious thoughts? Is it the news, social media, or the whisper of God's unfailing love? I'd love to know what your first moments of consciousness typically hold and how that shapes the hours that follow for you. If morning anxiety is something that you battle with as well, try adopting David's prayer as your own for just a week. Before you whip out of bed, before you reach for your phone, whisper those words. Let me hear your unfailing love this morning, for I am trusting you. Then share in the comments what shifts, even subtle shifts that you notice in how you're facing your days. Remember, even the heroes of our faith, they woke up feeling afraid. The difference wasn't the absence of anxiety, it was where they first turned when it came. I'd love for this to be a community that turns towards God's unfailing love together, especially in those vulnerable moments when we need it the most. My name's Adam with Faith Labs. Thank you for spending a few minutes here with me. I have a favor to ask. While we don't have a editing budget, we have this. So please do subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and if you'd be so kind to comment on the video, we could build a community that hopefully can foster deeper conversations with God together. Thanks for being here as always. Onward, and God bless you.